Welcome in along with Mike Renner. I'm Steve Palazzolo, and this is your Oakland Raiders NFL Draft Recap, all powered by PFF Edge and Elite. Mike, coming into the draft, the Raiders with 4 picks in their top 35 of the draft. We said it could be a franchise-changing draft. I thought they went a little bit conservative, though. I know everybody's boards are different, but the first big curveball of the draft was the 4th overall pick, Clelin Ferrell from Clemson.
Yeah, they could have swung for the fences a handful of times and maybe hit a few home runs, but they played it by the book. They went with guys who fit their scheme and know are going to be solid, if unspectacular, pros, and Clelin Ferrell kind of defines that. In our book, he was more of a top of the second round kind of guy just because he's not necessarily explosive. He's not great at a bull rusher, but he's very good with his hands, very active hands, can play both the run and rush the passer to some degree. For a top 5 pick, where you're drafting in the top 5, you can get a Josh Allen, you can get a freak of nature athletically. You have that ability where you are picking to get a Khalil Mack-esque replacement, and you go more safe with a guy who, like you said, we think will be good, but you have to think that the comparable guys went off the board, 26 Montez Sweat, later on in that first round. You had to think if they traded down and got just any sort of value from a trade down, they could have filled out that roster better than just going Clelin Ferrell.
Yeah, I mean, there may not even been a trade down option, but Clelin Ferrell, definitely a guy that maybe if they target him at 24 or 27, would have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we thought that was a bit of a stretch there with Clelin Ferrell at number 4. And then at 24, we know we're anti-running back here in general in the first round. There you go, Josh Jacobs, the number 1 running back on our board, but a guy we probably wouldn't have touched until the 2nd, maybe 3rd round. How much impact can he truly have? That's the big question with running backs. Talented back, but the impact worthy of a first-round pick is always a little risky.
Yeah, I just don't think the incremental change between him at 24 and David Montgomery, who went in the middle of the 3rd round, is anything really whatsoever. There really is not much of a difference between those two in our eyes. Josh Jacobs still the number 1 back on our board, so what they did draft, we still like, but 24th pick overall, he's not going to change your offense significantly, even if he does hit his peak. And he's not even like a home run hitter. He's just a solid, powerful back with some receiving skills.
And then with the 27th pick of the first round, Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State. I did a full breakdown here on the YouTube channel saying, look, much like Keanu O'Neal a few years ago, didn't have the best PFF grade, but if you put him in the right position, he can play football well, which is strong safety. Not going to be a free safety. But again, we talk about positional value, and if you're getting a box run-stopping safety like Jonathan Abram at number 27, he can be a good football player, but maybe not the most valuable one here in the first round.
Yeah, I just, again, question the value and question even where he fits in to this defense with 2 established starting safeties. You signed LaMarcus Joyner in free agency. You don't really have a position. I mean, maybe he's your nickel backer or your slot
dime linebacker,
that type of guy, but he doesn't even have necessarily slot coverage skills. So he is a pure zone box safety is what he is, which there are a lot of guys like that in the NFL today, and we saw maybe the best one in the NFL go to the Packers this season, Adrian Amos, and only get something like $10 million a year. Just it's not a coveted skill set in the NFL.
Instead of picking at 35, the Raiders trade down to number 40. Grab another player from Clemson, Trayvon Mullen, a guy that again, got some first-round hype at some point during the process. We still had as more of a 5th-round type of corner. So now we're talking about 3 out of the first 4 picks coming out of the national championship game.
Yeah, 3 out of the first 4 picks out of the national championship game, and 3 out of the first 4 picks, 2 out of the first 4 picks we just weren't high on whatsoever. Didn't even make our top 100. Jonathan Abram and now Trayvon Mullen. Mullen's just, he relied on his physicality there. Instead of using it as a weapon, he was overly physical. It's just things that would not translate to the NFL game in my eyes. He's fast. A lot of these cornerbacks in this class at the top were not fast. He at least has that speed. But the change of direction ability, the mirror ability, I don't really see it there on tape. So I have questions and marks about Trayvon Mullen at number 40. Like I said, he was much lower on our board.
We had a couple other corners a lot higher who were available at that time at number 40. Their next pick was not until day 3, round 4, pick 4. Max Crosby from Eastern Michigan. We really liked this one. We liked some of their day 3 picks. Max Crosby has some pass rush potential at the next level. Size, movement skills, a couple years of really good production in the MAC.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of last year's draft when all of a sudden they get Maurice Hurst. I'm like, oh, hey, we love that pick.
We went from, oh, no, we don't love love it. So, all right, you're solving the problems here.
And now the Max Crosby pick is one we certainly like. One of the most athletic defensive ends in this whole draft class. Uses his hands really well. Still a little bit of a work in progress. Still very slight. May not be much as a run defender, but I think he has the athletic skill and already has displayed how he knows how to rush the passer at the college level to where I think he could develop. Might not happen right away coming from Eastern Michigan, but I think he could develop into a real threat as a pass rusher there.
Speaking of develop, Isaiah Johnson from Houston, a freak at cornerback, and a good spot to take him in the 4th round if you're taking a shot on just an athletic guy that needs to figure out a little bit more on the field.
Yeah, his on the field right now is, like you said, work in progress. He was a former wide receiver, only 2 years of cornerback play, but you saw him get better over that course, much better even from the beginning of the 2018 season to the end of it. But if you were to put together a cornerback, he would look like Isaiah Johnson from a physical standpoint. 33-inch arms, 6'2", 208 pounds, runs a 4.4 flat 40 and had a 6.813 cone. I mean, he's just changed the direction ability, explosion, everything off the chart. So moldable clay to sort of project into the cornerback position there for Oakland. Not a guy you might want stepping in and starting from day one, but if he figures it out, the potential for him is off the charts. And you saw, it's like another thing where we wouldn't buy into it if you never saw it on tape, but we saw it for reps there at Houston. We saw the high-level sort of play that his athleticism suggests.
And the complete opposite of that is adding a nice veteran like Hunter Renfrow who can come in, maybe teach Antonio Brown the ropes at wide receiver, a guy with slot receiver potential, and we get that in the 5th round. Some good value there. So overall, we thought it was a safe-ish type of draft for the Oakland Raiders. We might be sitting here a few years from now saying Cleveland Farrell's a nice player, Josh Jacobs, nice player, Abram, Mullen, nice players, but there was still a lot of potential left on the board. I think that's going to be the defining characteristic of this draft.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Oakland Raiders draft. Get the full breakdown over at ProFootballFocus.com.